Tonight, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta hints of granting some concessions to individual bondholders under the debt exchange program, but rules out abolition initiative.
We have a situation where debt exchange is necessary.
More as the Finance Minister is currently in closed-door meeting with some individual bondholders. We will fill you in as and when we get more details of that. Also, Zenith Bank Ghana ceases operations in securities and industry capital market. We'll tell you why. Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority naps fake currency syndicate at Aplau border.
All representatives from all the security services at the border to come for a joint examination. When they did the joint examination, they had first 80 million CFA, which turned out to be fake.
I am Pious Kojo Backah, and this is Business Live. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has indicated that the government will provide some concessions to deal with the concerns of individual bondholders following heightened agitations. He has, however, ruled out abolishing the debt exchange program, insisting it is needed to help recovery of the economy. He has been speaking in an exclusive interview with George Yafe ahead of PM Express Business Edition, which will be aired tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Expenditures, are being cut to the bone, and you can ask from ministry to ministry and they'll confirm that. But more importantly, the issue of now our gift miss and HMIs, which are computer systems, would really ensure on a commitment basis and the quarterly allocation that you cannot even post what is not in your budget. And that's really important because if you look at the past, you see areas in which certain contracts are signed way beyond budgets. This one will not, the system will not even allow you to. We ourselves as a ministry setting up an oversight committee to make sure that everybody stays within that ambit. And then more importantly, the review that we are doing on these various programs to make sure that deficiencies and leakages, are done with. And then ensuring the GRA, as you say, are now on a trajectory to being able to perform properly, a lot more digitalization, and that is going to help us immensely. So George, I'm pretty confident about that in the future in terms of the idea of burden sharing to get us through the hump. Domestic debt exchange program, we've come up with some changes that we did for the financial institutions. I think that has gone down well. We are also looking at the pensions for the unions. We are making great progress with that. And this week we'll also look at the individual bondholders and see how. Because a nation that does not treasure those who have worked for it over a certain period and are old, it's not the nation that you necessarily want to be in. And that, therefore, is going to guide us in what we do to make sure, as the President always said, that lives and livelihoods are important. We can fix the economy, but we can't do that. So it is on that sense of responsibility to at least the aged, the vulnerable that we have. You look at this austerity program that we are having of the fund, and there's clear interventions on social protection. And we cannot lose sight of that. So let's rest assured that this whole thing is voluntary, first of all. I need an 80% target, which means what? I expected that some people may not tender. That's true. Are we now telling that, play your part in this thing because government is going to play its part, and that if we get below a certain threshold, it's not good for all of us. But completely sensitive to the fact that there are idiosyncratic needs that we need to take care of, and we will.
The assurance again, especially for those individual bondholders, that whatever decision that will be taken in these discussions, they will not be left worse off, the pensioners, as you push this debt exchange program ahead.
Yeah, I think what are we saying? We are saying that we have a situation where debt exchange is necessary. we have a situation where we have come out of certain formulations and we have gone ahead to discuss with the financial institutions a way to mitigate that. I think we've done that successfully. In the same way, we sat with the union pensions, and I think we are making great progress in what we do for them. In the same way in which we are looking at individual bondholders to see how we can tweak this. Would we lose a bit of what we have? I think all of us are going to. But we have to make sure that what we eventually come up with creates a sustainability. For example, a zero coupon for 2023. That has to change. So we'll look at that. And those are the modifications which then recognizes the need for fixed income for certain classes of our citizens that we intend to do. So George, you know, once again, livelihoods must be protected as much as we can, and make sure that we also have a nation as a community that is also strong and robust for the future.
And remember to catch the full interview on PM Express Business Edition at 9 p.m. tomorrow on the Joy News channel. And on the back of that, we do know that government, as we speak, or the finance minister is engaged with the individual bondholders in a closed-door meeting. We'll certainly keep an eye on that and fill you in as and when developments unfolds from that part. Now, moving on, the Securities and Exchange Commission has announced that Zenith Bank Ghana has voluntarily withdrawn its operations from the securities industry and capital markets. According to SEC, the decision was reached after a thorough assessment of bank's voluntary application to cease all of its operations in the securities and industry capital market. Now, a statement from SEC said it has issued a notice to the general and investing public that Zenith Bank Ghana Limited, a licensed trustee that engaged in trustee activities in the securities industry and capital market, has voluntarily requested to cease operation. The statement reads, the SEC has, after a thorough assessment of circumstances, approved the voluntary cessation of business of Zenith Bank Ghana Limited as a licensed trustee. Zenith Bank Ghana Limited is no longer mandated to carry out any trustee activities within the securities industry, the statement added. Now it continues by saying, all investors, market operators, and general public investing public, that SEC is committed to ensuring rigorous enforcement of all rules for operators in the capital market. So that's the latest coming in from the Securities and Exchange Commission there. Let's touch on some revenue-related story. And the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has arrested a suspected Nigerian fake currency syndicate along the Aflao border. The suspect, who was using an unapproved route to transport the cash, was nabbed after a joint operation by the customs border officials and some security agencies stationed at the country's eastern border. Now, after further examination, he was found with 80 million CFA, which turned out to be fake. Acting Commissioner of Customs, Seidu Idrisu Idasa, has been briefing journalists on the arrest.
There was this man riding a motorbike and carrying a passenger, and they were having a hand luggage, which the officers suspected to carry some, that they are carrying some goods inside. They stopped them, tried to examine it. There was a little resistance from them, but with the help of the other security services who are also patrolling the routes, immigration, the army, narcotic control board, and the police, they came to their aid, and they forced them to open it, and they realized it was containing some currencies, CFA, Naira, and what do you call it? It was the two currencies actually. So they brought him, the suspects and the currencies to the Aflao office, and invited all representatives from all the security services at the border to come for a joint examination. When they did the joint examination, they had first 80 million CFA, which turned out to be fake, a fake currency. But in addition to that, they had 843,000 CFA, which is genuine, and then 110,500 Naira. The main suspect, the one carrying the luggage, is is of Nigerian origin, and he was carrying a Nigerian passport. And this was yesterday. As of this morning, I had instructed them to bring the suspect plus the contents to Accra here, and we'll be handing over to our investigations department for further investigations. And later we'll liaise with other security services, and maybe it may lead to prosecution. So this is what happened yesterday. He's a 57-year-old man. The full name is Aremu Timothy Adigbo Iga. That is the full name, but he's carrying a Nigerian passport. I will not mention the passport number now, but and that's why we suspect that he's a Nigerian. But he himself acknowledged that he's a Nigerian, and he's a 57-year-old man.
Moving on, the Association of Ghana Industries is making a passionate appeal to government to take steps to address the depreciation of the cedi, warning if the trend continues, it could erode the gains made during the December period. The association's comment is coming at a time the cedi has come under immense pressure. The cedi has so far declined in value to the dollar by about 12%. Chiona Mapalo is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of AGI.
For us in industry, what we need is the stability of the currency. We want to be able to plan 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. The only way we are able to plan is if we know that the currency is stable. As it is now, you sit in a boardroom, you make a plan. In less than a week, the plan is thrown out of gear because of how the currency is dancing on a daily basis. And we're saying that we need a regime that allows for stability, and that's really what we are calling for. Sometimes it goes so down, sometimes it goes so up. We don't want that. We want stability. And we are asking the managers of the economy to consider very seriously to see how they can be able to stabilize the currency. That's really what we need.
Now, government has made the final presentation to its creditors in 20 developed countries to help fast-track the cancellation of the country's debts. This was done by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to the Paris Club of International Creditors. My colleague George Yafe has the rest of the story.
The presentation was aimed at making a strong case to these 20 developed countries that made up the Paris Club of International Creditors that Ghana deserved a debt cancellation. That is, looking at the current state of the economy and what government intends to do with the reliefs. There were several scenarios that were presented to these creditors on why there's a need to fast-track the negotiations. Well, it looks like government succeeded in making a strong case for these debts to be cancelled. This has led to the Paris Club agreeing to set up a creditors committee, one of the significant steps towards the possibility of having Ghana's debts cancelled. Whilst Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta wished the process could have moved faster, the Paris Club sees the Creditors Committee as a significant move and a sign that it is open to cancelling Ghana's debt. Securing this deal from these creditors may also help fast-track Ghana's IMF program approval from the board before the end of the first quarter of this year. The IMF, again, is pushing the private international creditors to join the initiative and cancel Ghana's debts.
Moving on to some other stories, Executive Director at the Southwestern Pacific International, Dr. Cancellation, has called for realignment of the public sector procurement system to avoid infractions that result in the state losing huge revenue. This, he believes, will help the nation rake in more revenue.
The way forward, I'll still reference the recommendation that I made that there is a need for us to reconstruct the architecture of procurement in the public sector, where we have an enhanced form of what previously used to exist called the Ghana National Procurement Agency to now be referred to as a Ghana Government Procurement Organization, where they will run their own balance sheet and run their own payroll. And so therefore, all MMDs need to do their annual planning and then hand over their requirements to the GOPO to run their sourcing and procurement for them from end to end, without any interference from the MMDAs.
Right. And another issue also has to do with the procurement board. There have been a lot of concerns with respect to their effectiveness. Some are saying they failed, some are saying they are not effective. or some are even raising issues that it's the central government that is not playing its role well. From your experience, what do you think is the problem with respect to the procurement board?
We could make a conjecture based on the available information that is in the public domain by referencing some of the anti-corruption agencies' reports, annual report, the Auditor General's report that is published annually based on the work that they do, to be able to make some inference and arrive at a certain safe point where we can say that, yes, the board is doing its bit. The board is doing very well. If you look at the 2021 Auditor General's report, you realize that while procurement irregularities in 2020, the financial attributions to the irregularities or infractions were approximately 1 billion Ghana cedis. This figure dropped by about 60% in 2021 to about 590 million. So that is a significant improvement. But the problem there is that a significant amount of this particular financial attribution arising from the irregularity is associated with contract or contract inefficiencies or incompetent contracts.
Now, Senior Manager Tax Unit at Deloitte Ghana, Gilbert Yirinchi Ado, has advised businesses to honor their tax obligations, bearing in mind the country's current economic condition. According to him, businesses must pay their taxes to help the government generate more revenue for the country. Here is more.
Government is saddled with what? Heavy debt. And I mean, if you read the literature, they will tell you that, literature will tell that there are 3 forms of what? Austerity, types of austerity measures. One is where government will seek to what? Increase revenue, high taxes, to be able to mobilize sufficient revenue in order to curtail or meet or manage the public debt. The other thing is the Angela Merkel principle. You know, when Germany found itself in such crisis, what did Angela Merkel propose? What they did was, okay, fine, in as much as you seek to what? Increase taxes, do away with what? Unnecessary public spending. Because it's also another measure of raising in what? Revenue. So that you prioritize. That is when the economy of scales, the economy that we learn, scarcity of resources and all those planning comes to bear. You prioritize and focus on that which is important and that which will help the economy. And the free economic thinkers, they are also of the view that you lower taxes as well as what? Lower what? Government spending. And with that, and these are schools of thought.
And that's it for Business Live for tonight. I am Pious Kojo Backah. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. As I did indicate earlier, we are monitoring events at the Ministry of Finance, and we shall certainly keep you posted in our subsequent bulletins. Grateful serving you. Let's connect same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.